Welcome back into the Sean podcast. It's me, the Big Ush. Over here, it's the Cat Daddy. I know you missed us. Cat Daddy, what's on your mind?
Hey, this weekend we had Halloween. We had trick-or-treating. And, it wasn't just kids going around the neighborhood that were asking for tricks and treats, because we got some of that this weekend in football, too. We got some tricks. We got some treats.
All right, well, first, a couple things. So we apologize for last week. We didn't have episodes out. There were technical difficulties. Those were my fault. So I apologize for that. I'm also going to apologize for this week because I'm kind of sick today. And if you hear it, if I cough, I do apologize. Show must go on in terms of that. The technical difficulties, I can't get around there. But if it's something like me being sick, I'm always going to be present. Anyways, without further ado, we're just going to jump into the games. And we're going to see where the chips lay and fall. So we're going to start with Sean's game. Just to start off the bat, Green Bay went into the desert, beat the undefeated Arizona Cardinals 24-21. Sean, any thoughts on this game?
I got a lot of thoughts on this game. Their first defeat in Arizona. Green Bay wins on the road on a short week with the deck stacked against them. They were without their top 3 wide receivers, their top 2 cornerbacks, their all-pro left tackle, an all-pro pass rusher, their starting center, their defensive coordinator, and then they lost 3 players during the game, but that didn't matter. And kids, this is why you play hard even when the odds are not in your favor. Because at the end of the day, you know what this was? This was the Rasul Douglas revenge game that we all predicted and saw coming, right?
Yeah.
Definitely.
Right.
This is everything that we were talking about last week, but it just didn't get put out there. We're talking how Rasul Douglas is going to win this game for Green Bay, and then it happens. I'm not sure.
You weren't sad at all that they didn't get Stephen Gilmore.
No, not at all. Not at all. I didn't say any expletives. Nope, not at all. No. But yeah, Rasul Douglas intercepts Kyler Murray. What was it? 2nd and goal. 15 seconds to go.
Let's talk about that real quick, because I think that's the true story of this game. Even though there's multiple other story elements, we can talk about how the Packers defense played way better than anyone expected them to, especially that pass rush that's missing their best player. We can talk about how some of these other receivers stepped up and we had a resurgence of Randall Cobb. We could talk about all that. But that's not what we're going to talk about. We're going to talk about what in the world was AJ Green doing on that play.
I think he was in the middle of retiring during that route. I think that's what it might have been.
Because, you look at it, and it's one thing if he ran the wrong route, but he wasn't even running a route. That's the thing. I follow some people on Twitter, and Dez is one of them. Dez was wondering what was going on, and Dez is like, I can't believe that he would have thought that was a run play. They didn't have any timeouts. But that's what it looked like was going on. It looked like he was run blocking.
I don't know if the play call was supposed to be an end zone pitch, because either of those couldn't options. I don't know if AJ Green felt that he was so well covered by Rasul Douglas that the ball just wasn't going to come his way. I'm not sure what it was, but what it looked like he just gave up. And Rasul Douglas kept his eye on the ball, tipped it, secured the interception.
It looked to me like he was trying to block, like it was a run play. It looked to me like he thought Kyler Murray was going to run the ball.
You're looking at that play, Kyler ducked as soon as he threw that ball. There was no running there.
I know. I agree with you. But there's something in the drawing board that needs to be worked, because that was the game. That was the game. If There's some type of communication breakdown, something there, because if AJ Green is aware, I've seen Rasul Douglas play. Trust me, I'm a Cowboys fan. He used to play for Philly. He doesn't make that play if AJ Green's aware. AJ Green's probably got a touchdown. Just so you know. Don't get too excited about it.
Oh, no, not at all. I was expecting Arizona to score right there because you're thinking they had a great final drive, right? That final position was great because they were backed up, and then third down they start picking up huge chunk plays. They keep picking up those huge chunk plays. They get into field goal range, and I'm thinking, all right, well, Arizona's looking too good at this point. Green Bay just hasn't been able to stop them, and I'm thinking best case scenario is we're going to overtime. And I'm really thinking here that if Arizona gets in the end zone, and it looks like they will because they couldn't tackle. Chase Edmonds had a nice catch and run there where he just once threw around. Nobody was bringing him down. He had a huge gain on that. I'm thinking, man, Arizona's got the ball 15-yard line. 20 seconds remaining.
Yeah.
Like, this isn't good. This isn't good at all. I thought Green Bay was going to lose. In full disclosure, it wasn't. We didn't have last week's episode come out, but with the deck stacked against them, I had actually picked Green Bay to lose that game. I had Arizona winning this. And so there at the end, I thought it was absolutely going to come true, but I'm very happy I was wrong.
All right, moving on. We had the Panthers go to Atlanta and pull one out 19-13. So, did the Panthers save their season, or are they still in trouble?
I still think there's trouble. I don't think this individual win gets them back on track.
Now, that being said, that one player we talked about, Stephon Gilmore, he's the one who pretty much iced the game. You know, good for him getting back in the mix. Matt Ryan, on the other hand, 146 yards. I mean, I don't want to harp on this, but I think I was right. I think the Falcons should have went for a QB instead of a tight end. I know Kyle Pitts has shown some awesomeness, but positional value, and Matt Ryan does not look like the same guy.
He doesn't. Atlanta had a few other things that were working against him in this game.
But at the same time, you're not going to win many games when your quarterback throws for under 200 yards.
Kyle Pitts was de facto wide receiver one. That's not his role.
Again,
that's supposed to be Calvin Ridley right there.
Whose fault is this? They drafted Kyle Pitts. They misjudged the, let's say, commitment of their roster. I'm not going to knock anybody on this pod, but someone has other things bigger than football going on. So they are no longer with that team. They traded away their best receiver. And, they stuck with an aging quarterback, and this is where we're at. It is what it is. You misjudged your roster. That is a fail on a management level. You know I'm right. There's no argument you can make here.
Now, you're saying misjudge. I didn't know that you weren't a big fan of the Kyle Pitts selection, but if you have Calvin Ridley and Kyle Pitts for a full season, I think that makes a difference.
But Kyle Pitts and Calvin Ridley still played together at certain points, and they still lost. Again, Matt Ryan is still the quarterback, and Matt Ryan still has not been great. The expectation is he should be doing better. And the question is, well, why should he be doing better? I get that there is a change in the offensive system, the offensive philosophy. You have a new head coach coming in. Your coaching staff is pretty much changed over, but he's a veteran quarterback who's been in the league for how many seasons now? So I agree with you in the sense that, yeah, Matt Ryan should be doing better.
throwing for under 200 yards in this game. That's no.
Yeah, against a team where there's blood in the water. We're not talking about he threw for under 200 yards against, let's say, the Bills. This team, the Carolina Panthers, have not been good recently. All right.
No, they haven't. No.
We're going to move on to another interesting game. The Miami Dolphins went up to New York, upstate New York, to play those Bills. And for the first half, they kept it close. But then the Bills showed they're a more talented team. They showed they've got more, like they're further along. The Bills beat them 26-11. I mean, this is a lost season for Miami, is it not?
Yeah, I absolutely agree with that 100%. I think more so than you that there is heat on Brian Flores.
See, you do.
Just because they were supposed to be a playoff team coming into this year.
I get you.
And yeah, there's injuries. I get that.
I get you. And there's going to be a bunch of arguments that I'm going to make later on that are going to counter the arguments that I'm going to make now. But go ahead.
But the team is still talented.
It's not that talented, in my opinion.
They still have talent to win games. I can pull up their schedule recently.
Hold on. What did you just say earlier? What did you say talking about the last game? You said you were talking about how Kyle Pitts is the number one receiver, and it went with they had Calvin Ridley and Calvin Pitts the whole year. Have they had their full assortment of offensive weapons the whole year this year?
We're the Dolphins?
Yes.
Yeah, it depends on what you mean by full assortment. Are we including Will Fuller?
We're including Devontae Parker, Preston Williams, Will Fuller, Jalen Waddle, and Mike Gesicki. It's mostly been Jalen Waddle and Mike Gesicki. Now, I do agree with you. There are coaching problems. Brian Flores needs to take heat for whoever is calling offense. I know he's not an offensive coach, but the offense scheme and game plan is bad. I mean, I'm sorry that I'm not using a more nuance of the English language with that, but that's what I got. It's bad.
Yeah. The roster isn't that bad. You still have talented players there.
But then again, when your top tier players go down, it makes it tough. It makes it tough. I think the Dolphins are more top heavy. I do not think their depth is great.
No, it's not great, but you still have Jalen Waddle. You still have Mike Gesicki, arguably your two better receiving options.
At the
you
same
still
time,
had Myles Gaskin, who you have tragically and criminally misused.
And me and you have very, very different ideas on how good Myles Gaskin is.
I don't think the other running backs in Miami are better than him enough to steal a majority of the carries away from him.
No. I agree with you. There's no one on the roster. He is their best back, but he's not that good.
But he's still their best back, and there are still plenty of games where they're splitting carries, but then it goes back to what you were mentioning before of who's calling those offensive plays, what are they doing?
Agreed.
So,
but I mean,
Brian Flores has to take the heat for that.
At the same time, let's take also time to appreciate how good the Bills are and how well their management has done and how good their offensive coordinator and their head coach has done. I mean, the Bills, this is a good team that it plays well. I know they had the two hiccups this year. That happens. This is the NFL. Anybody can win at any time. But I just taking off the fact that Miami has underperformed, the Bills are still performing. All right, moving on to the next game. The 49ers went into Chicago, played those Bears. And I'm telling you right now, I know, the Niners beat the Bears 33-22. But at the same time, you know something? The Bears' offense at least looked a little bit better than they have in other weeks. I don't know what's going on with that Bears defense. They let Jimmy Garoppolo throw for 322 on them. They let Debo Samuel, what was it, like an 80-yard touchdown? I mean, like, what's going on? I mean, Eli Mitchell ran for 137 yards? What?
Let's go back to Jimmy Garoppolo real quick. Jimmy Garoppolo threw for 322 yards. The Chicago Bears had a total of 324 yards. Jimmy Graham's passing nearly beats the Chicago total offense that day. A few things to note: Chicago could not stop the run game
at all.
Elijah Mitchell, 137, a touchdown. You weren't stopping him. You weren't stopping Jimmy Garoppolo through the air either. But if we switch to Chicago's offense for a second, what did we see? We saw a little bit more out of Justin Fields. Right? This may have been his best game as a pro. Ironically, without Matt Nagy on the sideline. That's not a good look for Matt Nagy.
At the same time, and what's also not a good look, most of it came on the ground. And it proves again, the Bears don't have good receivers. And everybody's going to be like, well, what about Allen Robinson? And I've said this for a while. I've been in the minority here. I don't think Allen Robinson's that good. I think he's got great hands. I think he's really good in contested catch aspects, but he doesn't get separation. And I'm sorry, in today's NFL, you need separation.
Did we expect more out of Justin Fields as a passer? I did.
Yes, we did. But at the same time,
I didn't.
Again, did we also expect too much out of the Bears roster? Did our brains think we know Justin Fields' talent and forget it matters where QBs go?
There was the semblance of promise and hope getting drafted to Chicago, having Matt Nagy there. You know, just have to beat out Andy Dalton, and you have a starting role. I don't think what we did not anticipate how horrible the Chicago offensive line was going to be.
I mean, I think both you and I agree. If you would have been drafted, let's say, Carolina or Denver, we might be seeing something different.
We could be. I mean, how many games were we sitting here either frustrated talking on the episode or just talking during the games about how Chicago's misusing Justin Fields? They're not letting him be mobile, get out of the pocket.
How many drops these receivers have. But we're not going to stick on this. We got to keep it moving. You guys know how we feel about that. Let's move on to the Eagles' beatdown of the Detroit Lions, 44-6, and this was in Detroit. I'm Sean. You ready to admit that Detroit Lions are one of the worst teams in the league?
The 3 questions I asked myself during and after the game. The first question was, how? The second question was, how? And then the third question was, how? Right, this is a game that, considering how Detroit has played, how hard they've played for Dan Campbell this year, this was a game you're thinking, Philadelphia, if there's going to be a single Dan Campbell victory, you're thinking it's got to come against the Eagles. But this was a pathetic showing by Detroit. This might have been one of the
fall out. I told you the bottom was going to fall out.
It did.
Try hard only lasts so long.
This I mean, taking loss after loss takes its toll. They're currently sitting at 0-8 or 0-7 coming into the game, so I get that it takes a toll. But man, this was just embarrassing altogether. And this game actually has my WTF moments. All right. Now, to set this up, Jared Goff was getting beat up all day long.
Yep.
I think he was pressured some ridiculous amount. I think it was like 17 times he was getting pressured by the Eagles defense, resulting in 5 sacks. He was tired of getting hit. I get it. I was tired of watching him get hit. But now this doesn't justify what he did. I just want to give some context to the whole scenario. Having gone down 24-0 in the third quarter, the Lions find themselves in Eagles territory. And they're facing a 4th and 11. Inexcusably, Jared Goff throws the ball away, forcing a turnover on down on a 4th and 11 play. And you're probably thinking, well, maybe he's getting pressured. He's going to take a sack, and they don't want to lose, any type of leverage with the field positioning. No. Maybe his receivers are just getting covered too good, and he's had to throw the ball away. No, that's not it at all. Goff was only facing a 4-man rush from the Philadelphia defense. He gets spooked. He leaves the pocket early. He rolls to the right. And that actually worked in his favor, because as he rolls to the right, he sees wide receiver Khalif Raymond on the right sideline, wide open. And then he throws the ball wide right, out of bounds, nowhere near Raymond's. So after the game, he said he wasn't throwing the ball away. It just came out high. He called it a misfire. Okay, Jared, it would have been more believable if you didn't already throw away a ball on a 4th down in Week 6 against Cincinnati.
True.
Detroit, turn off your television for the remainder of the season. This is going to be a long year, not even halfway over for you. You are potentially going to be the first team that goes 0-17. Turn off your TV. Don't read the newspaper. Jared Goff is not the answer.
He's never been the answer, but I digress on that. Next game.
Moving on.
Probably one of the best games of the year, or not year, of the week. We had the Titans going to Indianapolis, face the Colts. Went to overtime, 34-31. Titans get the dub, but the big issue here is what we found out after the game.
Titans got the dub, and they got an L.
Lost for pretty much the season with a broken foot. I mean, maybe he could come back for the playoffs, but it's gonna get dicey, because I mean that offense goes through him. So they're gonna have to figure something out. And the Colts, they had a little bit of resurgence going on. So we'll have to see what's going on here. Sean, any opinions on this game?
I think there's a wide time frame for Derrick Henry's recovery. I've heard as soon as 6 weeks, and I've heard as long as 10 weeks. So
it's a 10-week. It's a 10-week injury.
I know. I think this 6 week was a very, very positive and optimistic, because you're thinking he broke his foot in that game.
No, well, it's the broken foot. That's the thing. It's the I forgot the name of it, but the problem with this one, Dez Bryant had this, and if you remember, he came back early and broke it again, and then after that, that's pretty much what ended Dez's career. He was never the same guy when he came back after.
Yeah, so there's a few questions. One is Tennessee willing to bring back Derrick Henry sooner than they want to, just for a playoff push? But then you're risking parts of his career.
Mm-hmm.
And, watching those, I was like, man, Derrick Henry only got 68 yards. That's a slow day. Yeah, well, you should really get credit for more, because 68 yards and a broken foot is actually pretty good.
Yeah.
And he played most of the game that way, too. I'm surprised they allowed him to play that long.
Yeah. But, we're going to move on. Indianapolis, we'll see. We're going to monitor Indianapolis for the rest of the year, but they could take this division.
Carson Wentz, man, decision making. Make good choices.
It's Carson Wentz. Anyways, moving on to the Bengals, traveling to New York And I think the Bengals were feeling themselves too much because the Bengals lose to the Jets 34-31.
They lost to Mike White
Threw for over
and the
400 yards.
Jets.
Threw for over 400 yards. Put some respect on his name, Sean.
I don't know if that was a trick or a treat. I don't know which one that was. But we saw a backup quarterback come in. Was it first career start throw for 405 yards?
Backup. Did you hear what Robert Saleh said?
What do you say?
Someone asked, would he consider moving forward with Mike White? And he said, anything can happen.
Coach speak. You don't draft quarterback number 2 to have Mike White take over.
Hey.
I'm just saying.
I get you.
I'm just saying. Can we talk about some bogus play calling, or not play calling, but calls by the referee?
Oh, I'm always up for talking about how bad the refs are.
Okay. And it was the turning point of the game, and that's why I think it stands out so much. Because Cincinnati should have had the ball back. What was it? Mike Hilton went to tackle Ty Johnson. Hilton starts to go low. Ty Johnson, I guess, racing for impact, also goes low.
Helmet.
Yes. Now, Mike Hilton made the move first. The defender put his head down first with anticipation of hitting the legs, hitting the body of the running back.
Right.
The running back then dropped his own helmet, and that initiates the helmet-to-helmet contact, and somehow Mike Hilton got flagged. What?
I agree with you. Well, the refs have been atrocious all year. We're going to get to some ref talk later on because it's my WTF moment, which are multiple moments, but we'll get there. We're not going to linger here. Cincinnati needs a bounce back game. We'll see what happens against Cleveland. Moving on, the Rams traveled to Houston, and the Rams are dominating this game. And all of a sudden, they're like, we want Houston to score some points. You know, we're going to give people some, like, garbage fantasy points. So we're just going to sit all our guys at the beginning of the fourth quarter. And Houston made it a little bit more interesting than it should have.
No. Disregard the 22 points that Houston scored. Just completely disregard that because this game was not 16-point close.
Hey. People say it about my team, my squad, all the time, so I got to bring it up when it happens to other people.
It was not. But for the Rams, fun stat for you. Last year, 2020 season, Jared Goff threw for 20 touchdowns in 15 games. So far this year, in 8 games, Matthew Stafford has thrown 22 touchdowns. In nearly a little bit more than half the games played, Matthew Stafford has already eclipsed Jared Goff's touchdown total from last year.
Anybody with half a brain would have told you that Matthew Stafford's a better quarterback than Jared Goff. I'm just saying, like, I mean, we don't have to linger too long on that to know that.
But my second point for that is the main beneficiary is Cooper Kupp.
Oh, yeah.
Cooper Kupp is on Megatron pace. You know, that 2012 year we had 122 receptions, nearly 2,000 yards.
Gross.
Remember who his quarterback was that year?
Matthew Stafford.
What?
Hey, you ain't got to tell me. All right. Moving on, the Patriots traveled out to LA, face those Chargers. It was a good game.
Yeah.
The Patriots seem to be opening this up a little bit more. I don't know. I mean, this could be a different team. The Chargers, still a good team, but they still need some work. You can just tell. Like, what's his name? Staley has made some rookie head coach mistakes. This game he made some. The Ravens game was the big one. But they need some bounce back. What's your thoughts on this?
This win brings New England up to 4-4. If you would have asked me at the beginning of the season, 8
After
games
the
in.
Miami loss.
Yeah. 8 games in. Do you think New England will have a winning record? I'm like, no, not at all. I would not have thought that. And here they are. They're sitting at 4-4. They're playing horrible at home. They're only 1-4 at home,
Which is crazy.
but they're winning on the road. And how impressive is that for a rookie quarterback to win, to be 3-0 on the road? I get it. You have Bill Belichick as your quarterback, so that gives you a little bit of a competitive advantage. But it's still Mac Jones out there throwing the ball, leading that team, and he's looking good.
Yeah, indeed. We'll see what happens the rest of the way. Next up, we have the Jacksonville Jaguars traveling all the way to the West Coast to face those Seattle Seahawks. And, well, they lost. Is what it is. 31-7. It's just what, not unexpected.
Second time this year, though, that Trevor Lawrence has thrown more than 50 passes in a game, and I don't think that's a good recipe for success for Trevor Lawrence, so Urban Meyer needs to get his act together.
Well, I mean, James Robinson did get injured, and Carlos Hyde is not the guy.
What? But that's Urban Meyer's guy. What?
Sure. Next up, we have the Washington football team traveling to Denver, and this one's kind of a snooze fest in my opinion. Washington loses 17-10, and so what happened here? Because I mean, I remember all the talking heads out there talking about how the Washington football team was gonna win the NFC East, and how like this was Ryan Fitzpatrick's best team he ever been on, and all this nonsense. And the defense has been lackluster. The offense, I know Ryan Fitzpatrick got injured, but they weren't good when he was there. So I mean, you tell me, what happened?
I have no explanation for it. I remember being a big fan of Ryan Fitzpatrick to Washington. Talented roster he could work with, offensive weapons. There was optimism there. He gets injured early on. We don't have a chance to really see them mesh together outside of, what was it, like the first game, maybe 2 games. He went down pretty early.
I remember telling you, and I mean, how many years has Fitzpatrick been in the league?
Like 78.
No, I think he's been in it longer. But I'm just saying, with all the time Fitzpatrick's been in the league, this is his best opportunity. Give me a break. I'm sorry. Give me a break.
You are absolutely right about the defense. Considering the talent they have here, Chase Young, Montez Sweat, they have Jamin Davis, the rookie they just drafted, Landon Collins. This is a pretty stacked defense, especially that front four. And it's been very underwhelming this year. So that part's tough. You have Taylor Heineke coming in. He clearly is not the answer at quarterback. Clearly.
I wonder who could have told you that.
I don't know. I think I might have. I don't know.
I think we both might have said it. Anyways, Denver stops the bleeding, at least for a little bit.
Man, they made it close though. Melvin Gordon fumbling within a minute remaining in the game.
Know.
Yeah. Oh man, you're up 7. Melvin Gordon coughs it up. Now, part of me rejoices in Melvin Gordon coughing it up just because I rostered Javonte Williams in fantasy football, and I want to see more Javonte.
I'm pretty sure Melvin Gordon was in because Javonte coughed it up before he did. Only Javonte didn't lose his.
Yeah.
Anyways, moving on. Next up, we have the Bucks traveling to New Orleans. And this is a wacky game, man. This is a wacky game.
I don't know what alternate universe we found ourselves in this weekend.
Well, first, we have Jameis Winston playing actually extremely well against Tom Brady.
It's a revenge game.
And what was Mike White? No, not White. Devin White does this crazy yank tackle, and Jameis Winston tears his ACL and injures his MCL. Like, it was brutal.
Mm-hmm.
And then Trevor Siemian all of a sudden comes in, and the Saints seemingly don't skip a beat.
They get better?
And then all of a sudden, Tom Brady forgets how to play football.
Well, Tom Brady remembered how to play football because they were down 7-23, and Tom Brady's like, "Oh yeah, I can throw it to Giovanni Bernard. I can throw it to Mike Evans. I can throw it to
And then he forgot again.
whoever the guy." And then, yeah, you're right. There was less than 2 minutes left. Tampa Bay's trying to make moves. He gets picked off by PJ Williams, who makes a house call, ends the game. I did not see that coming.
Not to mention he had like 3 sacks in the last 2 minutes. That is not a Tom Brady situation.
Yeah, I mean, he threw 2 picks that game and then
And
takes
he had a fumble.
the sacks. Yeah, it wasn't your normal Tom Brady that we've been used to seeing in Tampa Bay. But I'm surprised that New Orleans was able to keep it close enough
I'm just saying, like,
throughout the game.
I don't know. I don't know how good New Orleans can be without, quarterback.
But I guess when you have Sean Payton as your head coach, it doesn't matter who you plug in at quarterback. Taysom Hill, Trevor Siemian, you can call Cam Newton, you can call Phillip Rivers. Who knows?
Now, speaking of a team that was without their quarterback, moving on to the Sunday night game, the Dallas Cowboys announced earlier that day or midday that Dak Prescott would be shut down. Dak was not happy. Dak thought he could play. But
Fantasy owners not happy.
Cooper Rush was getting his first NFL start on Sunday Night Football against the Minnesota Vikings in Minnesota. And I'm going to be honest with you. I had already put in my picks for Dallas to win, but I thought they were going to lose. I'm going to be honest with you. I thought they're like, you know something? We're going to try hard, but if we lose this game, this is an L we can take because, let's be honest, those other teams aren't catching us. Philly don't scare us. And then the Dallas defense came to play, and Cooper Rush came to play. And lo and behold, even though it was a low-scoring affair, Dallas beats the Minnesota Vikings 20-16. Now, before I let you get into this, Sean, I'm going to give you my WTF moment. My WTF moment came on the Minnesota final drive. Refs, or NFL, we need somebody to hold refs accountable. Because first, we have multiple penalties that are nonsense here. The first one goes on, I believe it was Chauncey Golston. Or no, I think it was Terrell Basham. Terrell Basham, all right, yes, Kirk Cousins had thrown the ball, but Terrell Basham goes to the ground on his side, taking Kirk Cousins down with him. That's not roughing. I don't understand how you even call roughing the passer there. So that extends the play right there. And, I know it was going to be 2nd and 2, but that extends, or 3rd and 2, but that extends the play or the drive. Next, Randy Gregory goes and it's through the course of the play, and he kind of nudges a Minnesota player away from a pile. Personal foul. Another 15 yards. And then the most egregious one, Dalvin Cook is fighting for extra yards. He's near the sideline. If you watch, you can see it. Randy Gregory hits him out of bounds, and then the whistle's blown. It's literally hit, then whistle, and he gets flagged for hitting a player after the whistle. What the F? I'm sorry. They literally gave Minnesota 45 yards on the last drive, and they still only got 3 points. Good job, Dallas defense. Bad job, NFL refs. Go ahead, Sean.
I don't think I have much to. I don't have much after that. Cooper Cup or Cooper Rush comes in. He's like, well, I, I just saw Trevor Simeon beat Tampa Bay. Just saw Mike White beat the Bengals. Just saw Geno Smith beat the Jaguars. So why don't I make it 4 for 4 with backup quarterbacks coming in and winning football games? And what's more impressive is the Dallas run game just couldn't get going like it normally does. I think they had less than 80 yards as a team.
Well, I mean, Minnesota decided
Sell out the run.
Be able to run.
Yeah.
I mean, it's a smart decision.
Yeah. The Cooper Rush 325-yard experience definitely came back to bite him. Momentum certainly changed in the third quarter when early in the third, Cooper Rush hit Cedric Wilson for what was a 73-yard touchdown.
And Harrison Smith didn't know where he was.
Yeah. Harrison Smith got fooled. Oh man, that was amusing to watch. He had no idea where Cedric Wilson was. And then Cooper Rush, down by 3, leads Dallas to a touchdown drive with the Cooper to Cooper connection. There's a nice ring to it.
Oh, that's another fun thing I forgot to mention. So, Dallas has played Minnesota 2 years in a row with backup quarterbacks. Last year with Andy Dalton, this year with Cooper Rush. Funny thing is, they've won both. And how they won is really interesting. This year, Cooper Rush threw the game-winning touchdown to Amari Cooper, right?
Yep.
Last year, Andy Dalton threw the game-winning touchdown to Dalton Schultz. just an interesting little nugget.
All right. So if somebody on the Dallas team has a first name of Prescott next year, then we know how this game is going to end.
Minnesota's just like, cover the guy named Prescott. All right. Moving on, though. Down to the Monday night game. New York Giants versus the Kansas City Chiefs. This game, I don't know. All right. First thing I'm going to say, something's wrong with the Chiefs. This game should not have been this close. Not to mention the Giants should have won this game. Joe Judge. Oh, by the way, the Giants beat them. The Giants lost 20-17. This is in KC. All right, so Joe Judge, your whole tenure is supposed to be based off of discipline. And I could have sworn you guys had this game won with a game-winning interception that got wiped off the board because one of your players was offsides. Maybe you need to either get together or get out. I'd love you to stay because you and Jason Garrett are making life real easy for the Dallas Cowboys.
Yeah, you like those 2 automatic victories each year.
Seriously.
Yeah, I think this is the second time this year where it's been late in the game. There's been an offsides call that killed some defensive momentum that allowed the opposing offense to go on to score the game-winning points. That's twice this year. I think one was, the opening weekend or very, very early in the season. But yeah, for someone who's trying to bring in the disciplined approach, the team doesn't seem to be playing disciplines. But you can find out more about how I feel about Joe Judge in our next episode when we talk about coaches in the hot seat. Maybe he's in my top 3. Maybe he's not. He is. But yeah, overall, this Monday night game was a boring game.
Snoozer.
It just like last week. This one was slightly better. I think it had more excitement at the end, but we discussed last week. It's time, at least I discussed, that was my point of view, that it's time for Kansas City to hit that panic button. Because you're creating turnovers at an alarming rate for a team that really doesn't have a history of creating that many turnovers. The Mahomes magic is wearing off. Is Andy Reid's play calling becoming a little bit stale? Are the defenses finally realizing, hey, all we have to do is just put an extra safety over the top? We remove those exciting deep plays, especially to Tyreek Hill, and we just force Patrick Mahomes to be patient and beat us with his patience. Because if that's the strategy, it doesn't look like Mahomes is playing very well being patient.
He's not, and that is the truth. That is the strategy. What is it? The Chargers are the first one. They were the first big ones to show it, because that's Brandon Staley's whole defensive philosophy. Make you give up the run, make you drive the whole field, and see if you can stay disciplined. Because eventually, the belief in that type of defense is that you're going to make a mistake. That teams can't do 15 play drives every time they get the ball. And Patrick Mahomes doesn't want to do that. He wants the big play. That's his style of play.
I mean, that's been pretty synonymous with that Kansas City offense, where they've been able to score points at will over the past couple of seasons because they have those electric plays. But defenses, if they get smart and they take that away, you're forcing him to be patient. You're forcing him to make the smart decision. Not saying that Patrick Mahomes is not smart, because he is. But if you're forcing him to do something that he's not normally used to doing, that's out of his comfort zone. That's
Yes.
a game changer. And what's Cincinnati sitting at right now if they're standing? Or not Cincinnati, but Kansas City.
Third,
Kansas
I believe.
City. Currently 4-4, is sitting at third place in the AFC West. Ooh, they are going to be fighting for a playoff spot, because it doesn't look like they're going to win the division.
They've got some tough games coming up. All right,
They
anyways,
do.
words of wisdom for this week, Sean?
Don't give up, kids. Even when the deck's stacked against you, even when the odds are not in your favor, don't give up.
Mine are, keep an open mind. You never know what could happen.